Okay, so now we're going to, I'm going to show you how to do the border. We pretend that this is our Kaboom blanket squares all joined. We start with our neutral colour, attach our yarn with a slip knot and to a 2 chain space, corner space, and then we're going to do 1 stitch, a double crochet UK or a single crochet US in every stitch along the side. So it's a bit tricky, that's the joining one. Okay. So every stitch along the side, just do 1 stitch in. And it's important that we have an odd number of stitches for our border. So you already will have an odd number of stitches on each block, but we need to create an extra stitch to keep an odd number. As you know, odd plus an odd equals an even. So what we're going to do is when we get to the join section, which we're nearly there, we're going to use the join as a place to put our extra stitch that we need. Okay, so here's the last stitch on this block on the side. Now we do 1 in the 2 chain space, and now we do 1 in the join. So you can just insert your hook, because it'll all be the same colour. This is just yellow because I did that so you could see what we were doing. Ugh. Just poke your hook underneath that join. There we go. Because it's the same colour, it'll blend in. Then we do 1 in the 2 chain space and 1 stitch all the way along. Okay, nearly at the corner. Oops. Okay. So in the corner, in this 2 chain space, 1 stitch, 2 chain, 1 stitch. And continue all the way around and I'll meet you back here. Okay, here we are back at the other end. I've just done the last stitch in the last side, so now I do a stitch in the same place as where I joined my yarn. I'll do chain 1 and join to that first stitch. Sorry. Can't quite see. I've done that really tight. Actually joins the second stitch there. Sorry, it's working through this magnifying camera. Okay. So just like when we were working our rounds, if you want to put a stitch marker in here to remind you where to put your stitches, you can. I'm not going to for this part. Okay, so the next part of the pattern, there's 3 rounds that we're going to do over and over again, but using our colours. So the first round that we do to set up is a skipping round, I call it. Sorry, nothing on the camera. Alright, so first we do our false stitch or chain 3 if you'd like to do that. Sorry, my camera really is falling out. So there's my false stitch. Now we're going to chain 1 and skip 1. So we do a treble in the next stitch, UK or a double crochet US. We're going to do that all the way along. Chain 1, skip 1, stitch in the next. And in the corners, we're going to do 1 stitch, chain 2, and 1 stitch. So I'll do that all the way around and I'll come back and meet you here. Okay, here I am back around the other side. Just a tip for you as you go. You should always have a stitch in the stitch that's in your join. That'll make sure you keep on track. Okay, so I've done my last stitch. Now I'm going to chain 1, do a stitch in the same place as our first stitch, and because we're going to end this colour now, I'm going to chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to my first false stitch. Okay, I'm going to trim that if I can find my scissors. And the beauty of this border is you can crochet over your ends as you go. So all you need to do is just tighten it off. Okay, now our next round is our colour round. So you use the same order that you do in your blocks, whether you went red first or indigo first. And we attach our yarn with a slip knot and choose a different corner to where you finished off. And this is a spike round, or a double crochet spike round, or single crochet spike round. So we attach it to a 2 chain corner space with a stitch, double crochet UK, single crochet US. Then what we're going to be doing is a stitch in each of the stitches. Every time we come to a 1 chain space, we're going to be doing a spike stitch into that skipped stitch below. So pull up a loop, and see I'm pulling it up quite high. Then a stitch in the next. Really am having trouble through this camera today. And spike. Pull up a long one. Stitch in the next. And in the skipped one, spike. That's all there is to it all the way around. We just do 1 stitch, 2 chain, 1 stitch in each 2 chain space. So I'll meet you when we come back here and I'll show you the last round of our border. Okay, so here we are around the other end. Okay, so spike, long loop, stitch in the next, stitch in the same place as our first stitch, and because we're finishing this colour, chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to our first. Okay, trim that off. Find my scissors again. There we are. And again we can crochet over this end as we do our next round. Alright, so the last round that we do, well, actually when you're doing all your repeats, you actually finish on that round with your last colour. But when you're continuing on, you need your neutral colour again, which you attach to your hook with a slip knot. Find a different corner to where you finished last in the 2 chain space, and we're just doing a double crochet round or single crochet round. So yarn over, pull through a loop, then just a stitch in every stitch along. Crochet over your ends as you go. And that's all there is to it. And you can, when you come around, you'll join. I'll show you when I come back to the other centre side. Okay, so here we are back around the end again. Just got 1 more stitch to do in a stitch, then a stitch in the same place as our first stitches. And I'm going to chain 1 and join with a stitch, double crochet UK, single crochet US. And then we do our skipping round again, then our spike round again. So we've got our, this is what we've just finished here, the double, then we do the skipping round, then the spike. the single or double crochet round, skipping round, the spike. We do that all the way, just working through your colours in the order that you use them in your blocks, finishing with your spike round. And that is the border. I hope you have fun making it.